It's been a month. Human, why haven't you claimed me yet? She whispered in the dark. The ship drifted through the endless dark like a forgotten whisper. Commander Aaron Hale sat alone at the control console, eyes fixed on the soft glow of distant suns. The hum of the life support system was the only sound. Even that felt too loud. It had been 34 days since he left the Viridian front lines, and 34 days since he'd brought her aboard. Naira. She sat quietly on the lower bunk, her emerald-green skin faintly glowing under the sterile cabin lights. Every time she moved, the silver strands of her hair caught the glow of the navigation display. It was beautiful, distracting, and unwanted. Aaron hadn't spoken more than a few sentences to her since they left Viridian orbit. He had a mission: extract the alien defector and bring her to Alliance Command. They said she had knowledge of a weapon, one that could end humanity before the war even began. They hadn't said she would come willingly, or that she would talk so much. "You're very bad at silence," she said at last, breaking the quiet. Her voice had an odd warmth, like music softened by distance. Aaron didn't look up. "And you're very good at talking. I'm just trying to make the time pass. 34 days on this ship, and you still treat me like I'm invisible." "You're not here for conversation," he said flatly. She leaned back on her elbows, eyes studying him. "Then what am I here for? Because it feels like even you don't know anymore." He didn't answer. Instead, he adjusted the autopilot settings, his movements precise, almost mechanical. Every command was a distraction. Every key press, a shield against thought. But her next words slipped under his defenses. "Your friend, Reyes. He's why you don't sleep." His hand froze midair. He turned sharply. "Don't speak his name." Naira tilted her head, her glowing patterns shifting. "You blame yourself. He died because of your orders, didn't he?" The air thickened. Aaron stood. "You know nothing about him." "I know guilt when I see it," she said softly. "Humans carry it like armor. You call it duty, but really it's punishment." He took a step toward her, anger rising. Then the ship's alarm blared. The console flared red. A proximity alert. Something massive was approaching fast. "Pirates?" she asked, standing. "No," he said, scanning the sensors. His heart dropped. "Viridian ship. Military signature." Naira's expression changed instantly. Fear, but not surprise. "They found us." The first shot hit seconds later. The entire ship lurched, throwing them both to the floor. Lights flickered. A second impact followed, tearing through the corridor outside the cabin. "They're targeting our engines," Aaron shouted. He sprinted to the console, typing rapid commands. Shields flared, sputtered, and barely held. Another explosion. The ceiling buckled. Sparks showered the room. Naira stumbled as a loose panel crashed down. Without thinking, Aaron lunged and pulled her under him. Shrapnel tore across his shoulder. Pain flared white-hot. When the noise settled, he groaned and pushed himself up. Blood soaked through his uniform. Naira was already moving. Calm. Focused. She dragged him toward the bunk and ripped open the emergency med kit. "Stay still," she said, her tone sharp now. "This will hurt." He tried to push her hand away, but his strength faltered. The smell of antiseptic filled the room. She worked quickly, cutting away fabric, pulling shards from his shoulder with steady fingers. "Why are you helping me?" he muttered. She glanced at him, eyes glowing like molten gold. "Because you protected me. Because you still think you're supposed to die to make things right. That's not duty, Aaron. That's despair." He didn't reply. His world was spinning. She cleaned the wound, applied a shimmering patch, and sealed the edges. Outside, the engines hummed weakly as the ship steadied itself on auto-defense mode. "You said your people built a weapon," he whispered. Naira met his gaze. "Not just a weapon, a mistake. It was meant to end humans, but if they activate it, it will end everyone. Even my kind." He forced himself upright, biting back pain. "Why tell me this?" "Because I'm not your enemy," she said simply. "And because the one person who can stop it just got himself wounded saving me." Her hand brushed his cheek, gentle, deliberate. "You're the one they called the storm-eyed warrior in our legends. The one who would change everything." He frowned, half-conscious. "Prophecies," he murmured. "I don't believe in them." "You don't have to," she said. "You only have to survive long enough to prove them right." Outside the viewport, the last traces of battle fire faded into the black. But in Aaron's chest, something new began to burn, a spark of defiance he hadn't felt since Reyes died. The silence returned. Only this time, It felt less like emptiness and more like the calm before a storm. 3 days passed in uneasy quiet. Commander Aaron Hale could still feel the ache in his shoulder, a dull reminder of the shrapnel and the choices he hadn't made yet. The ship's repairs were nearly complete, but their direction wasn't. Naira stood by the viewport, watching the fractured light of a nebula slide across her reflection. "We can't keep running," she said. "They'll track the residual warp trail. Viridian ships never lose a scent." Aaron looked up from the console. "Then where do you suggest we go?" She turned toward him, her silver-white hair drifting around her face like a halo. "Crossroads Station. It's neutral ground. Too many factions, too much noise. We can vanish there. And I have someone waiting." He frowned. "Someone? An old friend. She's a keeper of things that don't exist in official records. Artifacts. Codes. Prophecies." The word hung between them. He wanted to dismiss it as nonsense, but something in Naira's tone stopped him. The Crossroads Station appeared like a metal moon wrapped in neon veins. Thousands of ships orbited its massive body: freighters, mercenary cruisers, smuggler shuttles, and pleasure yachts. It was the galaxy's meeting point, a place where truth and lies traded the same currency. Aaron adjusted his collar, his alliance insignia hidden beneath a dark jacket. "Feels like walking into a hornet's nest," he muttered. Naira smiled faintly. "That's the beauty of it. Hornets don't notice one bee." Inside, the air was thick with the scent of oil, sweat, and a dozen alien spices. Merchants shouted in languages he didn't recognize. A lizard-like trader tried to sell them genuine Terran soil in jars. Somewhere above, music pulsed from a cantina. "This way," Naira said, weaving through the crowd. She moved with the easy grace of someone who had walked among predators before. Aaron followed, scanning faces, hands, weapons. Every shadow felt like a set of eyes. They entered a dim, smoke-hazed establishment marked by a flickering sign, the Spiral Cup. The lights inside were low, the noise lower. Behind the counter stood a small figure with pale blue skin and 6 gleaming eyes. Her forearms moved independently, cleaning glasses, counting credits, adjusting a glowing pendant at her throat. "Matriarch Sarah," Naira said softly. The alien looked up, recognition spreading across her strange, delicate face. "Naira of House Lin, alive after all, and with a human? The galaxy truly has a sense of humor." Aaron's hand twitched near his sidearm. "We're not here for jokes." "Few people are," Sarah replied, gesturing them to follow her. "Come. The walls here like to listen." She led them into a back chamber where faint blue light shimmered across the walls like liquid glass. On a table rested an object about the size of a heart, pulsing gently, alive with its own rhythm. Aaron stared. "What is that?" "The relic of confluence," Sarah said, her 6 eyes blinking out of sync. "Older than Viridian history. It responds only to those who carry the right pattern in their soul." Naira stepped forward, reverent. "You found it." "I kept it," Sarah corrected, waiting for the day when the prophecy whispered of the storm-born eyes and the emerald guide. Aaron sighed. "This again. Prophecies, fate, it's all superstition." "Then touch it," Sarah said simply. "If superstition is all it is, nothing will happen." Naira glanced at him, then reached out. He hesitated a heartbeat before placing his hand beside hers on the relic. The reaction was immediate. A surge of cold light leapt from the relic, spiraling around their arms. Aaron gasped as symbols, thin as smoke, sharp as flame, etched themselves across his skin before fading. Naira's patterns glowed in perfect sync with his veins. For a moment, they weren't separate beings, but halves of the same pulse. When the light dimmed, the relic had changed shape, solidifying into a crystalline key, etched with twin lines of blue and green light. Sarah smiled slowly. "The prophecy confirms itself." Aaron stepped back, still catching his breath. "That thing could have killed us." "It could have," Sarah said, "if you were not who she thought you were." Naira looked at him, eyes wide, not with victory, but with fear. "If this is true, then the next part has already begun." "What next part?" She took a slow breath. "The weapon isn't just a device, it's alive. It's growing inside the Temple of Convergence on Viridian Prime. And once it awakens, it won't know the difference between enemy and ally." Aaron felt the weight of the key in his hand, still faintly warm. He'd been a soldier his whole life. He believed in orders, not omens. But as the glow of the relic pulsed like a heartbeat against his palm, he couldn't shake the thought that maybe this war wasn't about who fired first. Maybe it was about who dared to believe. And for the first time, he wondered which one he was becoming. The vigil slipped out of Crossroads' orbit under false transponder codes. The stars outside the viewport stretched thin, warping into pale lines as the ship entered sublight drift. Inside, tension thickened the air. The crystalline key lay on the table between Aaron and Naira, pulsing softly like a heartbeat neither of them wanted to claim. Aaron finally broke the silence. So let me get this straight. You want me to fly into Viridian Prime, past their defense grid, and into a temple that's probably crawling with guards, all because a glowing rock told you to? Naira folded her arms, calm but unyielding. It's not a rock. It's a living relic, older than both our civilizations. And it responded to you. That means something. He leaned forward, jaw tight. It means I'm unlucky. Before she could answer, the console beeped, a proximity alert. Aaron's hand went instinctively to his weapon, but Naira placed hers gently over it. No, wait, she whispered. I know that signature. The comm crackled to life, carrying a smooth, deep voice. Naira of House Lin. You've been busy. Aaron's stomach sank. He recognized the tone, calm, confident, dangerous. Commander Theros. The Viridian officer from Crossroads. Naira exhaled slowly. Let him dock. Aaron shot her a look. You're joking. He's not here to kill us, she said quietly. If he wanted to, we'd already be dead. The two ships aligned with a metallic thud. A moment later, the airlock hissed open. Theros stepped through in ceremonial armor that shimmered like wet stone, his golden markings glowing faintly. Still reckless as ever, he said to Naira. Then, to Aaron. And you must be the human she risked half the galaxy for. Aaron didn't rise to the bait. If you came here to make threats, save your breath. We're leaving. Theros smiled faintly. If you were leaving, your engines would already be running. Instead, you're sitting here, wondering how to reach Viridian without dying in the first minute. So, let's skip the posturing. You need me. Naira's eyes narrowed. You're with the Council. Why would you help us? Theros circled the table, studying the key. Because the Council has lost its mind. They think the weapon will make Viridian untouchable. They don't realize it will destroy us all. You two are foolish enough to try to stop it. That's exactly the kind of foolishness I can work with. Aaron stood. And what do you want in return? Theros turned to him, his amber eyes sharp. To make sure my people survive. Nothing more. Aaron didn't buy it. And you expect me to trust a man who used to be her. What? Fiancé. Naira's expression flickered, a flash of discomfort. It wasn't that simple, she murmured. Theros's grin was humorless. It never is. He produced a small device from his belt, a holographic map blooming to life above the table. I can get you past the planetary grid. But once we're inside, you'll be on your own. Aaron studied the map. Red rings marked orbital stations, black triangles marked patrol routes. The Temple of Convergence sat at the center of it all, glowing like a wound. That's suicide, Aaron said flatly. Possibly, Theros agreed. But necessary. And I have a ship built for it. Naira looked between them, her voice quiet. The Emerald Fong. Theros nodded. Fast, cloaked, and still officially part of the Viridian fleet. My access codes will hold long enough to get us through the first layer of defense. After that, luck, skill, or prophecy, take your pick. Aaron didn't trust him, but he didn't see another path. If you try to betray us. Theros interrupted with a faint chuckle. Then you'll shoot me, human. I wouldn't expect anything less. Hours later, the three of them stood on the deck of the Emerald Fong as the stars shifted around them. The ship moved with predatory grace, every surface gleaming like polished bone. Aaron kept his distance, arms crossed, watching Theros at the command chair. Remind me again why we're trusting the jealous ex with our lives. Naira shot him a look. Because he's the only one who can get us close. And because he hates what the Council's become more than he hates you. High praise, Aaron muttered. Theros glanced back. You know, human, for someone fated to save the galaxy, you're remarkably unpleasant company. Aaron smirked. Guess it's part of the charm. Naira stepped between them before the tension could spark. Enough. We're allies, for now. She turned to Theros. When do we leave orbit? He adjusted the ship's controls. Already did. Outside, the stars shifted again, forming the faint, ghostly outline of a planet wrapped in emerald and gold. Viridian Prime. Aaron's throat tightened. He wasn't sure if it was fear or adrenaline. Maybe both. The Roast leaned back in his chair. Enjoy the view while you can, Commander. Once we're in their airspace, it won't be pretty. Aaron stared at the planet glowing in the distance, feeling the weight of the key against his chest. Two enemies turned allies. One impossible prophecy, and a war no one understood was about to begin. The Emerald Fong cut through the upper atmosphere like a silent blade. From orbit, Viridian Prime looked peaceful, ribbons of green forest wrapping around oceans that shimmered like liquid crystal. But as the ship descended, the illusion cracked. Below lay massive citadels of black stone, guarded by fleets of drones and shimmering energy towers that pulsed in rhythmic patterns. A planet preparing for war. Commander Aaron Hale stood beside Naira, his hand brushing the glowing key that hung on a chain across his chest. The relic felt heavier now, as though it sensed what waited below. Once we land, said the Roast, his voice cold but controlled, we'll have 12 minutes before the system realizes my access codes are false. After that, we'll be fugitives on a hostile world. Aaron nodded grimly. Then we don't waste a second. The Roast shot him a sidelong glance. I'll take point. You, try to look defeated. Aaron's brow furrowed. Defeated? You're my prisoner, the Roast explained. So is she. The guards at the temple won't question it if I act like I hate both of you. Naira gave a small, wry smile. That shouldn't be hard for him. Aaron grinned faintly despite himself. You know, for someone leading a galactic peace prophecy, you have terrible taste in allies. The ship jolted as landing struts engaged. The view outside shifted from the glow of the upper atmosphere to the shadowed spires of Alaris, the capital city. Bioluminescent towers rose like living veins, pulsing with the rhythm of the planet itself. The Temple of Convergence dominated the horizon, ancient, angular, and alien even by Viridian standards. It wasn't built, it was grown. The ramp hissed open. The Roast walked out first, his posture imperial, his armor gleaming. Behind him, Aaron and Naira followed, wrists bound in ceremonial cuffs. The air was heavy, rich with oxygen, tinted with something sweet and sharp that made Aaron's head swim. Dozens of Viridian guards lined the platform, their armor marked with swirling golden glyphs. The lead officer stepped forward, his voice sharp. Commander the Roast, your presence here was not scheduled. The Roast inclined his head. Special order from High Command. These two were caught attempting to smuggle sacred artifacts off-world. I was ordered to deliver them to the temple for questioning. The officer eyed Aaron suspiciously. A human? On Viridian soil. A mistake, the Roast said smoothly. One that will be corrected in the questioning chamber. The guard considered this for a long, tense moment, then nodded. Proceed. The high priest will be informed. As they entered the temple, Aaron's senses flooded with awe. The walls were alive, pulsing faintly, carved with glowing lines that flowed like veins of light. The air hummed, thick with energy. He could feel the relic on his chest vibrating softly, resonating with something deep beneath them. This place is alive, he whispered. Naira's expression darkened. It's not alive, it's conscious. The Viridians built their religion around this place because they thought it was sacred. They never realized it's a machine. Aaron frowned. What kind of machine? The oldest kind, she said quietly. One that remembers. The Roast led them down a spiral corridor until they reached a vast door of black stone, etched with the same glyphs as Naira's glowing skin. He dismissed the guard who had followed them with a curt order, and when the door sealed shut, he turned quickly. We're clear, he said, unlocking their restraints. Aaron rubbed his wrists, his mind racing. Now what? Now, Naira said softly, her eyes wide as she stared at the walls. We listen. Before Aaron could ask what she meant, the glyphs around them flared to life. The patterns shifted, forming shapes, then faces, then a web of symbols that seemed to float in midair. A deep, resonant hum filled the chamber. Naira's voice trembled. It's the temple. It's speaking. To who? Aaron asked. To us. Her body stiffened, the light on her skin brightening until it painted the room in emerald and gold. The symbols formed into words, Viridian script Aaron couldn't read, but Naira could. Her lips moved, whispering translation. The weapon is no longer contained. The core is awakening. Aaron stepped forward, alarmed. Can we shut it down? She shook her head slowly. Not yet. It says the triad of light must complete the bond before the key can be used. The what? The three forces, the Star Warrior, the Emerald Guide, and the Bound Shadow. She turned to the Rose, her voice breaking. It means us. Theros's face darkened. And what does the bond require? Naira hesitated, eyes flicking between them. A sacrifice. Aaron felt the word like a punch. What kind of sacrifice? The kind that can't be undone. For a long, terrible moment, no one spoke. The walls pulsed softly around them, whispering in a voice older than the stars. Then the Rose looked away, jaw clenched. So that's why the council chose me, he said bitterly. They needed a third piece, one they could afford to lose. Aaron met his gaze. You think I'll let that happen? Theros's lips curved in a thin, cold smile. If it saves our worlds, human, you won't have a choice. The chamber's hum deepened, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere above, alarms began to wail. Naira looked toward the doorway, her eyes wide. They know we're here. The high priest's guards are coming. Aaron drew his sidearm, checking the charge. Then we move. Fast. As the temple quaked and distant voices echoed closer, the three of them ran. Down the glowing corridor, into the heart of a living machine that had waited millennia for them to arrive. And far below, something vast and ancient began to stir. The sound of alarms rolled through the temple like thunder trapped in stone. Glowing runes pulsed along the walls, shifting from calm gold to deep, angry crimson. Every line of light seemed to crawl toward the center of the structure, toward something waiting far below. Aaron Hale ran down the narrow corridor behind Naira, the relic swinging at his chest like a heartbeat out of sync. The Rose followed close, his boots echoing sharply against the living floor. The deeper they went, the stronger the air felt. Heavy, charged, as though the planet itself were holding its breath. What's happening? Aaron demanded. Naira didn't look back. The temple has begun its activation cycle. The weapon core is waking up, and the temple thinks we're part of it. Aaron's jaw tightened. We came here to stop a weapon, not start it. That's the irony, the Rose muttered. On Viridian, everything sacred is also dangerous. They burst through an archway into a massive chamber, circular and vast enough to house a city block. The floor was transparent crystal, and below it pulsed a sea of green energy, alive, restless, waiting. Suspended in the center of the chamber was a vast structure like a heart made of glass and metal, its veins glowing with the same light that danced across Naira's skin. That's it, she whispered. The core. Aaron stared in awe. That thing's a weapon. Not in the way you think, Naira said. It doesn't destroy planets. It rewrites them. It changes the DNA of everything it touches. It was supposed to make my people stronger, resistant, unified, but the code spread. It won't stop with Viridians or humans. It will consume every genetic chain it encounters. Aaron's stomach twisted. You're saying it'll overwrite life itself. Before Naira could answer, a booming voice filled the chamber. Exactly. From the far entrance, a tall figure stepped through the smoke of distant fires. His armor was ceremonial black trimmed with gold, his face sharp and cold as a carved idol. High Marshal Vor. The Rose cursed under his breath. He's not supposed to be here. Vor smiled thinly. And yet here I am, Commander the Rose. You've led me straight to the heart of the prophecy. His gaze swept to Aaron and Naira. The human and the traitor. How poetic. Aaron raised his weapon, but Vor lifted a hand. The runes around the chamber flared, and the air thickened. Aaron's arm froze mid-motion. It felt like invisible vines had wrapped around him, holding him still. Do you feel it? Vor asked. The temple knows who its masters are. The temple doesn't serve you, Naira snapped. It serves the balance. Vor laughed, low and cruel. Balance is an illusion of the weak. The universe exists to be controlled. Humanity spreads like rot through every system it touches. This weapon will correct that. Aaron struggled, teeth gritted. You'll kill everyone, including your own. Vor stepped closer, his voice a whisper of ice. Sacrifice is the language of progress. The Rose moved suddenly, breaking from cover, blade drawn. He lunged, but Vor was faster. A blast of golden energy hurled him across the floor. He crashed into a pillar, armor sparking, blood dark against green light. The Rose. Naira cried out. Aaron felt rage surge through him, hot, and uncontainable. The relic at his chest flared in response, bursting with blinding blue light. The invisible force holding him dissolved. Or shielded his face. What are you doing? Aaron didn't know. The relic's light poured into his hands, weaving into shapes, circuits, patterns, energy veins mirroring the temple's own. The ground beneath them shuddered as if recognizing him. Naira's eyes widened. It's responding to you. It's merging with you. The relic floated upward, glowing brighter until it became a sphere of blue and green flame. Aaron reached toward it instinctively, his hand steady now. The prophecy, Naira whispered. The Star Warrior and the Emerald Guide must join within the core. Vor roared, his armor cracking with energy. You'll destroy everything. Maybe, Aaron said through clenched teeth. But it won't be your everything. He pressed his palm against the relic. Instantly, the entire chamber came alive. The crystal floor dissolved into light. Streams of data and energy spiraled upward, wrapping around Aaron and Naira like twin constellations. Naira's patterns glowed so bright they burned through her suit, forming vines of golden-green light across her arms. The core responded, its pulse syncing with their hearts, faster and faster. Ver stumbled backward, shouting in fear. You can't stop evolution. You can't rewrite destiny. Aaron looked straight at him. Watch me. The core exploded with color, green, gold, and blue spiraling together into a blinding storm. Aaron felt everything. The hum of the temple, Naira's heartbeat, Theros's pain, the entire planet breathing in unison. He wasn't just inside the system anymore. He was part of it. The voice that filled his head wasn't his own, but something ancient, vast, and patient. 3 lights complete the cycle. One must fall so the pattern may hold. Aaron's eyes snapped open. No, he said aloud. Not again. Naira grabbed his arm, desperate. Aaron, what is it saying? He looked at her, his voice breaking. It's demanding a sacrifice. The floor trembled violently. The roast staggered to his feet, his blade trembling in his hand. Then take me, he rasped. That's what I was born for, wasn't it? Aaron shook his head, fury rising. No one dies for this. The energy around them surged higher, wilder, hungrier. Vor screamed as the storm of light engulfed him, dissolving his armor into particles that scattered like dust. And in the middle of it all, Aaron reached for Naira's hand, anchoring her in the chaos. Whatever the prophecy wanted, he wasn't going to let fate choose who lived and who didn't. Not this time. Because humanity's greatest power wasn't prophecy or technology. It was defiance. The chamber had become a storm of living light. Emerald and blue energy surged in every direction, tearing through stone, metal, and memory itself. The Temple of Convergence roared like a wounded god. Aaron Hale stood at its center, half human, half conduit, his veins blazing with the same light that flowed through the ancient structure. The voice of the temple echoed in his mind, cold and boundless. 3 must converge. 1 must yield. No, Aaron shouted aloud, gripping Naira's hand tighter. We're not playing by your rules. Naira's face glowed like liquid emerald, her voice trembling but firm. Aaron, the system won't stop until it has what it wants. It's demanding equilibrium. One of us must anchor the process or the planet will rupture. The floor shook violently. Cracks of green fire split through the crystal beneath them. The core's heart pulsed faster, expanding, devouring the air around them. From the corner of the chamber, the roast dragged himself up, bleeding and limping, one hand pressed to his side. You can't outstubborn a planet, human, he growled. End it before it ends everything. Aaron turned toward him. You said the council built this to control life itself, right? The roast nodded grimly. Yes, but the temple predates even us. It's not just a weapon, it's an intelligence. It interprets power as devotion. Aaron's eyes widened. Then maybe it needs to be shown something it's never seen before. Naira frowned. What do you mean? He looked at her, jaw set. Not sacrifice. Choice. Before either of them could stop him, Aaron released her hand and stepped directly into the beam of energy surging from the core. The light swallowed him whole. Aaron, Naira screamed, lunging forward, but the roast grabbed her arm. No, if you follow him in, it'll kill you both. She tore free, her voice shaking. He doesn't need saving, he needs me beside him. And she jumped. Inside the light, there was no sound, no gravity, no air, only memory. Aaron saw flashes of his past. Reyes laughing during drills. Earth, distant and fragile. The faces of those who had died under his command. All of it blended with something larger, vaster. A tapestry of countless beings, human and Viridian alike, all connected by the same pulse. Then Naira's presence found him. A streak of green flames slicing through the endless void. She reached for him, her touch grounding him, anchoring the human part the temple couldn't consume. He felt her thoughts, clear as speech. You're fighting the system with anger. Let it see why you fight instead. He exhaled slowly. Grief, love, defiance. They all poured through him, into her, and then into the core itself. Together, their shared energy formed something new. The storm's color shifted, from violent green to soft gold. The core's hum grew steadier, slower, calmer. Then the temple's voice changed. It no longer sounded commanding. It sounded curious. You choose unity over surrender. Explain. Aaron answered without words. He showed it. The moment he carried Reyes's body through the wreckage of a battle, the silent nights spent regretting orders, the way Naira had looked at him, not as a weapon, not as a savior, but as a person worth saving. The core responded with warmth instead of force. The energy surrounding them softened, wrapping them in light rather than burning them alive. Two lights balanced. The third must complete the cycle. Aaron turned, realization dawning. The Rose. Outside the beam, the Rose was on his knees, watching in awe and pain as the energy expanded around him. The patterns on his armor glowed faintly, resonating with the temple's pulse. He understood before Aaron could say it. You need me, the Rose said quietly. The shadow to your light. Naira reached out through the beam, her voice breaking. If you join, it will consume you. The Rose smiled, a tired, genuine smile. It's already consuming everything else. Without hesitation, he stepped into the light. The impact was immediate. The energy stabilized, shifting into a spiral of balance. Three sources of power weaving into one. The chamber trembled, but not with destruction. With release. The ground around them softened into glowing dust, and the relic that once pulsed violently now floated serenely, its light blending all three colors, blue, green, and gold. Aaron heard the temple's voice one last time. Balance restored. The cycle rewritten. The storm exploded outward in a silent wave that spread through the entire city. Every drone, every defense tower, every war protocol blinked offline. Across Viridian, the crimson warning lights faded to white. When the glow dimmed, Aaron fell to his knees, gasping for breath. Naira knelt beside him, tears mixing with the glowing dust on her face. The Rose lay a few feet away, still, but peaceful. His armor shimmered faintly, fading from gold to silver as it disintegrated into light. He did it, Naira whispered. Aaron nodded weakly. He completed the triad. They sat together in the quiet aftermath. The temple's pulse slowed to a steady, calm rhythm, no longer a weapon, but something reborn. Naira looked up at him. Do you feel it? Aaron smiled faintly. Yeah. For the first time, I think the galaxy just took a breath. Above them, the ceiling split open, revealing the sky. Viridian's twin suns rising side by side for the first time in centuries, bathing the world in light that felt cleaner, softer, and new. Aaron stood, helping Naira to her feet. Let's finish what he started. She looked at him curiously. Peace. He nodded. No. Understanding. Peace will come after. Hand in hand, they walked toward the open air as the temple's last whisper faded behind them. The human heart defied its fate, and the stars remembered. The smoke had cleared. The air tasted new. For the first time in generations, the planet Viridian Prime was silent. No alarms. No marching soldiers. No humming of weapons in orbit. Just the low, steady rhythm of a living world taking its first calm breath. Aaron Hale stood at the broken entrance of the Temple of Convergence, the wind whipping through the vast opening where the ancient walls had cracked during the awakening. Below, the capital city shimmered under twin suns, its spires reflecting soft waves of green and gold light. The color of rebirth. Beside him, Naira adjusted the charred remains of her armor. The bioluminescent veins on her skin had dimmed to a peaceful glow, their usual frantic pulse now calm. In her hand, she held the crystal relic, no longer humming or burning, but warm and alive, like something that had finally found rest. Aaron's eyes moved toward the ceremonial platform where the rose had fallen. Only a faint silver outline marked where his body had once been. The air shimmered faintly there, as though the universe itself refused to let his presence vanish completely. "He saved us all," Naira said softly. Aaron nodded. "He didn't just save us. He saved what we could become." They stood in silence for a long moment, letting the sun's warmth wash over them. Around the temple, flocks of silver-winged creatures returned to the skies, their cries echoing like hymns. The temple's inner glow had shifted to white, no longer bound to war. Then the sound of engines broke the quiet. Aaron looked up. A Terran Alliance frigate descended through the atmosphere, flanked by two smaller Viridian crafts. Instead of weapons, their hulls carried banners, white and blue intertwined with green, the symbol of a new treaty. Naira smiled faintly. "You think they'll listen to us?" Aaron chuckled under his breath. "They'll listen to you. You're glowing, remember?" "I glow when I'm angry too," she teased, her voice lighter now. He turned to her, eyes soft. "Then let's hope they don't make you mad during negotiations." Hours later, the once mighty war chamber of the Viridian Council had transformed into a meeting hall. Terran officers and Viridian elders sat across from each other for the first time, not as enemies, but as survivors. The temple's energy had reached deep into the planet's infrastructure, erasing every trace of the bioweapons data. Every code, every archive, every strand of the virus had been rewritten into harmless light. Aaron stood before the assembly, his posture firm but calm. "This isn't a victory," he said. "It's a second chance. The weapon you tried to control nearly ended both our species. It took 3 lives to stop it. 1 human, 1 Viridian, and 1 who believed that neither side should win if it meant the other had to die." The chamber was quiet. Even the translators paused. Naira stepped forward, the relic glowing faintly in her hands. "The temple has gone dormant again," she said. "It recognizes us as guardians now, not masters. It will awaken only if either side breaks the peace. So if any of you are thinking about testing fate again," she let the relic's glow intensify until the room shimmered with gold and blue light. "Don't." A ripple of nervous laughter moved through the crowd. It wasn't fear, it was relief. When the session adjourned, Aaron and Naira slipped away to the balcony overlooking the city. The air was warm, fragrant with blooming flora that hadn't been seen on Viridian in decades. The energy storm had restored the planet's ecosystems along with its conscience. Aaron leaned on the railing, watching light glint across the skyline. "You know," he said quietly, "back home, they'll call this a miracle." Naira tilted her head. "And what will you call it?" He smiled faintly. "A human mistake that finally did something right." She laughed softly, leaning her head on his shoulder. "You really can't take credit gracefully, can you?" "I'm a soldier," he said. "We're trained to blame ourselves, not congratulate ourselves." She turned to face him, her gold-flecked eyes searching his. "Then maybe it's time you unlearn that." He started to answer, but she kissed him instead. Slow, steady, certain. The kind of kiss that wasn't about relief or survival anymore. It was about the future, about beginnings. When they finally pulled apart, she whispered, "The prophecies said the Star Warrior would stand between destruction and rebirth. It never said what happened after." Aaron smiled. "Maybe that part's up to us." They watched the suns dip low, painting the world in amber light. Down in the city, humans and Viridians worked side by side, repairing, rebuilding, planting. No flags, no armies, just people. Above them, the Temple of Convergence pulsed once, faint and rhythmic, as if offering a silent blessing before fading into dormancy. Aaron looked up and whispered, "Rest easy, the Rose. You did your part." Naira followed his gaze, her voice gentle. "So did you, Aaron Hale. Humanity didn't just survive. It taught the stars what defiance means." He grinned at that, eyes bright against the light of 2 suns. "And what's next?" She held up the relic, its glow reflecting in both of their eyes. "Whatever we decide to make of it." As the twin suns aligned perfectly above them, casting a shared halo over the newly reborn world, Aaron realized something simple and beautiful. The prophecy hadn't been about destiny. It had been about choice. And humanity, against every odd, every law, every god, had chosen to rise.